Hello and welcome to episode 73 of Flesh and Pod. My name is Logan. I will be your navigator on this journey of fuckitude. 11 seconds. That's not great.
Yeah, you're way too early on that.
Yeah,
I was about to say you're also our driver by default, but
there's that too. You couldn't shift if you fucking wanted to. But theoretically, like the opening is over 30 seconds or right around it. So I think I'll be fine. Maybe I just stretch that out a little bit more. But along with me is the newly installed drummer for Def Leppard due to the single arm capabilities, Darick Oswald, still in a cast from what it looks like. But
this is the splint that is normally in the sling. As I was telling Logan before we started recording, I should still be in the sling. But I had just gotten out of the shower, and so I hadn't jammed everything back in. And at this point, I'm just going to kind of move it around, get some mobility going, let it breathe. But this is what's been hiding under. This is what all of the itching is contained within inside. It's at the point now where it's just so bad. So,
and sadly, there's no shower video. But what I know of, I guess there might be. What did you get up to anything in Flesh and Blood this week, or were you just Tom fucking off with your one-armedness?
So I got a couple of Talishar games in, but I've been hard at work trying to settle on my final 80 for Baltimore. I'm going to be bringing Uzuri to the calling. I actually don't think it's the best deck for me to bring, so I'm not expecting to do well, but I think that the reps are going to be really important. And since I feel like I'm already behind on the hero and it's something that I really enjoy, I'm just going to bite the bullet and do it. Based on what I'm seeing in the matchups and testing and with my own experience and expertise, I actually think that I would do much better with Bravo, especially in the current environment. I think that I could run back almost the exact same 80 that I took to Indy and do very well. But I've made a lot of progress even in the shorter period of time that I've been able to test with Uzuri. And so that's what I've been working on. Turns out Backstab for the pummel list that you and I have been running is actually as good, if not better, than Isolate after getting a bunch of testing in with the actual list. So there's been a lot of modifications that I've made to the original 80, and it's still not fully there. I think that there's I would say somewhere between 5 and 6 cards that are probably still in flux right now, but I've made a lot of progress in the short time. So that's what I've been doing. It's not been locals and whatever, because I still can't drive. I might go this Wednesday. Wednesday's when I get my first look at everything under the splint. So there's a chance that they will have to put it back on, or I might be without it, but there's a strong chance if you see me in Baltimore, I still might be in a sling, depending on how stressed out the arm is through the day, because I'm recovering for 2 to 3 months total. So, but yeah, I might make it to locals on Wednesday. We'll see how I'm feeling, but that's been my Flesh and Blood, is just trying to hone for Baltimore.
Yeah. I mean, I've done a little bit of that, but not a ton. I mean, Thursday was drafting outsiders. I opened another one of these. This is the extended art Redback Shroud. So I know I have 2 of them, which thanks Obama, I guess. But the draft portion of it, I went 2-1. It was fine. It wasn't great. We also had, so we have a local. You've heard of his legend on this show before by the name of Rody Berg, and he sets up these weird events where random shit happens. So in this case, and there is video evidence of this, which I will get into our Discord at some point. So what this was is 14 people, and so I think it actually ended up being 12, but basically take 6 boxes and throw all the contents into a pillowcase, and then take said pillowcase and pass it around, and everybody can beat the shit out of it however they want to. I was swinging it over my head to mix it up and slamming it against the table. Then I threw it across the table to the guy across from me. He just held up and told me to speed bag it. So I just started punching the shit out of it and then passing it over. Other guys were swinging the fucking shit out of it. And after that, and all the packs are, sufficiently mixed, because that's the reason I guess we were doing that. You then pull 3 out, and you just crack them open. You take out the tokens, you shuffle them together. Sleeves are banned. Just shuffle that shit raw dog as hard as you can, and then you play Pack Wars with a set of rules designed specifically for pack warring in Flesh and Blood. And then we did that for 4 rounds, and this was to decide who was the new holder of the Flesh and Blood belt that you may have seen Dagon White wearing at different events for the last several months. But the new champion is just the old champion because Dagon yet again retained his title.
See, this is why I wasn't happy about Vince being in control of creative, because he's going to hold that belt forever. And I just don't like this storyline, man. Okay, like I love Dagon, but like I just need him to turn face. Like I don't like his heel run anymore. It's played out. Like Dagon Black was cool the first few times, but let's elevate some young talent.
So I mean, he is the young talent, but it's true. But to quote my favorite wrestler, Ric Flair, to be the man, you've got to beat the man. And we have yet to beat the man. So he has retained the title. The prizing for these events is also just outlandish because there's Rhodey donated a bunch of board games as prizes from his personal collection. So I've got a copy of Dice Tower or whatever it's called, or Dice Throne, which apparently is this super rare out of print game.
I think it's Dice Throne.
Yeah, I think it's Dice Throne. And then he's just like, yeah, good choice. That one's super expensive. I'm like, I don't fucking know. I wound up with a box of MetaZoo as a prize because if that's a prize. I
was about to say, no, that's homework.
Well, only if you open it, which I'm not going to.
Don't. Like the only way that you do anything with that is through some sort of homework. Like I would put it in my car for, when you have a really snowy day and sometimes you get your tire stuck and you're supposed to put like a thing of kitty litter in the trunk.
We're just gonna use the MetaZoo cards.
I think that's what I would do. It would go in my trunk and it would just be part of my kitty litter snow traction bag.
I'm just gonna put it in my stack of dead TCGs next to my Digimon boxes and My Hero Academia starters and variety of other things.
You should open the cards and then continue to take trips to zoos all around the country and just leave the cards like as a scavenger hunt at the zoos. Yeah, this will be a very meta joke, and I for one will appreciate it.
Okay. Oh, that didn't take long.
Yeah,
that really didn't take long. Okay. But then it threw out all this, and then everybody got to pull out 3 cards, and then Dagon signed 2 of them as the previous champion and current champion. Then Rhodey signed the 3rd. But inside this sack of shit that just got the piss pounded out of it was a Marvel Codex of Frailty and a set of all legendaries outside of Flick Knives with, I think, 1 duplicate. None of those cards got super fucked up. All of those cards somehow, some way survived the supreme ass kicking, while other ones are bent in half. The corners are dog-eared to shit. The edges are crumpled in. Those cards survived. Nothing, just fine. No big deal. It's like
I've never been one to like get stuff graded, but if I was the owner of that Codex of Frailty, I would pay to get it graded like in Baltimore or whatever, just because then if it does anything decent, anything 9 or above, then you have an even better story of like, hey, this graded card is more than just a graded card. It survived the card apocalypse.
Funny you should mention that, because the owner of that Codex of Frailty is me.
Oh, well.
So if they are card grading in Baltimore on site, I probably will do that, because that is absolutely hilarious. If it pulls anything higher than like an 8.5, if it gets into the 9s, that's egregious. That thing had the absolute shit beat out of it.
You'd be like, hey, here's this, imagine you get like a 9.5, where you'd be like, hey, check out this 9.5. Marvel Codex of Frailty. Oh, by the way, I speed bagged this bitch before
I punched this bitch
granted.
before I was ever opened.
I tried power bombing this through a table.
I took this thing, I slammed it on a floor, I smashed it into a door.
It is not the Codex of Frailty. It is the exact
it's not frail.
opposite.
It's the Codex of Sturdiness. Like, it is the Codex of Adamantium. That fucking thing had the shit beat out of it. And there's like a minor corner flaw that I had to really look for. I'm like, you got to be fist fucking me. I know how hard I hit that bag. It was not polite. Like, I actually cut a knuckle on it. And nope, not that one. Totally fine. All good. It was riffle. I riffle shuffled it, not knowing it was in a pack. My opponent had it in his pool, and I took that pool and I bent the shit out of those cards. I riffle shuffled the ever living fuck out of them. Nope, no shuffle marks, nothing. Looks great. Like, I guess I own it now. But man, yeah, those events are like, I love those types of casual what the fuck events because they're just so much more interesting. And people know that the principle here is to get in there and have a good time. And that's where you get to see the people who will really kind of show out and do the weird shit. And that's the best part of community, is when people are there to have fun. And this is the epitome of that.
You're telling me games are supposed to be fun?
Weird. I know, right?
I'm not supposed to make it a full-time job and sacrifice all of my free time and my identity. And
you're not supposed to play Prism. You're not supposed to play Dromai. You're not supposed to play an ice hero. You're supposed to have fun.
Every time I lose in Flesh and Blood, I blame it on lag.
What?
You need to fix their servers, man. This game sucks.
This game sucks.
Always
I can't believe this shit.
Me.
Yeah, I can never actually
a decent ping.
I couldn't. You can't tell me that guy was teabagging because I couldn't see it. I lagged out. Like, no, absolutely not. Like, fuck. I remember that
they need to do something about these hackers, man.
I know, right? So I got shit talked back in the WoW days because on the Dance Dance Revolution boss, is it Kagan?
It does start with a K.
Yeah,
is it Keegan, whatever,
something like that. But during that fight, I would die to the incoming, but on my screen I was always out of it. So I'd say, I was out of it. I swear to fucking God. And they'd be like, no, you're just shit. I'm like, oh, you motherfuckers. And so then I just one day got so sick of it, I just upgraded my video card and then never died to it again.
Yeah. I used to kind of crack up at that because, I played I played before there were a bunch of mods, and then when the mods started coming out.
Oh, sure. When Curse became a thing.
Yeah, I was just like old man yells at cloud about it, so I refused to install them. And so it would crack me up because I would have people that I was raiding with that would also die routinely to various things, and with boss mods and whatever.
With DBM on.
Yeah. And so and I would jokingly all the time, I'd be like, hey man, it's, probably your rig's just going too slow because of all those mods. You should turn them off. And everyone laughed at me until they found out I literally wasn't running it. I had a dude come over once, and then we were raiding together, and he looked over because he asked him about DPS meters. I was like, dude, I don't have that. And he was like, no, come on. And I was like, no, I don't have that. So he looked over and saw me I didn't have any customized overlays, nothing, just raw dogging it the way it came out of the box. And he was like, you're a sociopath. I don't know.
Yeah.
how.
Well, yes, I had recount. I definitely had a DPS count, and that also because I would not have it set to damage, though. I'd have it set to interrupts. And if I wasn't the top of the interrupt meter, I would flog myself, self-flagellation in the corner, because interrupts are way more important than DPS. And so that was why I had it. And I think that when Titan panel, because I liked the UI change, was it.
Yeah, the only mod I ever ended up installing was by the time that we made it to Cataclysm, I finally broke down and I installed one of the DPS mods that also had the threat thing, because I would routinely...
You had a habit.
Well, yeah, I started playing Death Knight in Cataclysm, and so I wasn't used to not being able to like throw my threat or faint. Like when I was a rogue, like, oh, I got in
Yeah.
trouble, like I'll just like vanish and then reset.
Vanish, cloak,
But
faint, whatever.
that doesn't work on the old Death Knight when I started playing that in Cataclysm. So I broke down because my tanks were angry at me. But that was the only one that I ever
that'll
installed.
happen.
I was raw for all the way through Wrath of the Lich King.
No, yeah. And then but back to Flesh and Blood, because that's what the show's supposed to be about.
No, never was, never will be.
No, never was, never will be. But I did play in my second skirmish today. It did not go well. I 1-3'd. My pool was, I had to play Ranger. That was the only 30 tangible cards I had to play that would make any sense to put together. And in those 30 cards were 0 traps. So Azalea it is. And yep. I got summarily bodied. I deserved it. But that's how it goes with sealed sometimes. That's why I prefer draft, but sealed is still limited play. It's still interesting. It's just, if your pool doesn't support you winning, sometimes you don't win. I mean, that's all there is to it. But I also made a blunder of the century when I was at 6, and aforementioned villain Dagon White attacked me for 1 playing Uzuri, and my brain just blanked. He had 2 cards in hand. My brain just turned off. I was at 6. And so I said, yeah, sure, I'll take 1. He's like, kill you? And he had a red death touch in hand. I'm like,
yeah, that'll do it.
All right. Yep, I'm dead. I'm an idiot. I get it. And so, I did not play my best either. And my opponents were very good at the game Flesh and Blood. I just happened to, shit it, and it wasn't great. But c'est la vie. I won 1. I got my cold foil Azalea. I got my playmat. I've got the Rainbow's foil Young Heroes. Like, I got everything you can get from a skirmish anyway, so it's fine. I'm okay with it. But speaking of skirmish, I think we can officially say goodbye to Oldham and Icelander at this point. Last time I knew,
pretty close. Like, I'd be shocked if they didn't.
Icelander needed 12 points. 12 points. And I believe that Oldham needed 6. So we can say a not so fond farewell to Oldham and Icelander. May they die a frosty death in retirement, because I'm kind of fucking sick of it. But it does mean that I still think Kano's probably the best hero in Blitz right now. But some of those other decks bubble up again. So, like, as a Kasai player, Icelander is our nightmare. Like, we wake up in cold sweats thinking about that matchup. And it being gone is great. Feels fantastic. Because now our only real bad matchup is getting high rolled by a Kano. That's about it. Although I have not played into new Rangers yet with like codexes and stuff, so that might be difficult too. But I would say that getting hit by a frailty token would probably piss me off real fast. But
yeah,
like, otherwise, in my mind, I think that opens it up for a lot of different heroes. It's not to say that it wasn't fair enough anyway. The only heroes that are legal in Blitz with 0 living legend points are Arachne, not solitary confinement, right. Vanilla Arachne, the Emperor, because whatever, dude, and the 2 merchants, Guinness What You Need and Cavdane. That's it. Everybody else, Shiana, Yoji, Datadol, have all got on the board. So it's a format people can do those types of things in. So I think it's pretty fine. That's I'm
actually very surprised that Arachne doesn't have at least 1 point. But I think with Oldham and Icelander leaving, there's a chance that he'll show up more, because I think that in Blitz, more so than CC, it's a lot more viable to play Fatigue Arachne.
Yeah. And I've had some success playing Arachne at armories. And
yeah, I just mean, like, if you go hard on the fatigue theme and you're just like, hey, the contracts are only there for 2 reasons: to banish cards from my opponent's deck, to speed up fatigue, and get armor back for blocking, then you're great. And then if you're just not, because you're not caring about offense and you're not going to run a bunch of daggers, then you can get away with running AB5.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, absolutely. All right, well, if I get the Kano matchup, like, good luck, Kano. Hope you can do more than 5 consistently, because I will just empty my hand every time. Let's do this.
Yep.
So I do think that there is at least some viability there. Do I think it's going to be like a top tier deck? Hell no. But I'm surprised that somebody hasn't at least got a point with it yet. But we'll see.
It'll be 2. I think 2 is the minimum. But
oh yeah, I don't know. I sometimes feel like you should get that pity point for
for trying.
You know, like Chicago Brawls, Azalea.
The bounty has yet to be claimed, sir. But there's no way that the bounty survives RTN season. Like, no way.
No way.
And speaking of RTN season, it is coming up very soon. If you are in the UK, Europe, Hong Kong, or Singapore, for whatever reason, the events start on May 13th. For the rest of the world, it's May 20th, and they run through June 4th. So 3 weeks of RTNs, over 400 RTN events. So that's cool. It can either be Outsiders Draft or Classic Constructed. So there's options. Most of them I'm seeing out in the wild right now are Classic Constructed, mainly because I know, and I know this from firsthand experience, that there are some suppliers, specifically, it seems like the suppliers that were getting mostly Belgian product, that have had a very hard time through distribution getting more product. So that's a thing. And also with the collation issues, sometimes people would be reticent to draft with the Belgian product or whatever too. But yeah, so with, I think almost, I want to say like 90% I've seen our Classic Constructed, which is totally fine. But one thing that kind of got...
Give me my draft.
Oh, for fuck's sake. But actually, yeah, give me the draft. I'm with you on that one. But yeah, whatever. But I was looking at the map today, or looking at events today. You know, I was trying to plan my May, and as much as I can plan anything these days, it seems like I have a month, and I'm like, man, I have a month where there's nothing going on, and I can chill. And then I look at the calendar, and I'm like, God damn it, it's not this year. So, but to me, when I was looking at this earlier, I have a Road to Nationals that is local, and the next closest one is 160 miles away. And then the normal kind of like spread of these is there are the normal ones that are always in everywhere else, it seems like, but usually there's more than one in Nebraska. There's only one in Nebraska. There's only the one in Iowa. And then there's the 7 or whatever it is in Minnesota. And then the Kansas City stores have all theirs. But it's like, these seem like they're a little spread out to me. And I'm trying to figure out not how this makes sense, but is this to like give more local participation a chance at qualifying? Like I'm at a loss as to why some of these stores are excluded.
I was just going to say, I think that some of it is them just trying to give maybe new or different stores a chance, is the best way I know how to describe it, because my local RTNs as well are very different this year compared to last year. Like, there are 3 or 4 that had them last year that don't have them this time. And on top of that, the ones that are within driving distance of me, like realistically, when I say driving distance, I mean anything like 2 hours or less, right? Anything 2 hours or less than away from me, there are only 4 total this year, and 2 of them are like overlapping on the same day. So unless I like really want to travel, I'll only get to play in 3 this year. And I remember last year I played in 3 and was upset that I only got to play in 3 because we had so many locally, but I had like casting gigs and stuff going on at one of the weekends or whatever that I had to miss. So it definitely feels different this year. And so I don't know if it's just that they did less overall, or they are again giving new or smaller places an opportunity, but it was noticeable to me because, like I said, there are at least 3 stores locally that I can think of that traditionally get events like this that did not this time around.
Yeah, I noticed that even stores like The Realm doesn't have one scheduled. Green Tree doesn't have one scheduled. MinMax
Right.
does.
Yeah, I know
But
MinMax has one, but like Realm, Green Tree, like those are obviously like bigger community names. But like even here in Michigan, stuff like Griffin's Rest, Grand Ledge Bookstore in the past. There's another one that their name is escaping me, but they're part of a strip mall. There's so like here in the like the general mid Michigan area, Upkeep and Loot got them, and that's to be expected. And then the other ones are like Kent County, and that was it. So
yeah,
I think in one of the 2 previous years we even had ones that were like ran out of there's a store in the Meridian Mall in Okemos. They didn't get one this time. Yeah, there's just normally a lot more, it feels like, and this time not
yeah.
so much.
And and then we're gonna lose a weekend of going to them to the Pittsburgh Brawl, which happens at the end of May. And so I can at most make 3 because there is a Sunday one on one of the weekends, but I would have to be traveling that entire weekend. No, like that's it. Like one is 2 hours in one direction, or actually close to 3 hours in one direction on Saturday, and the other one is 3 hours in the opposite direction on Sunday. So it's not like I can go grab a hotel, stay. No, it's drive, come home, drive. And that's not terribly appealing. But if I feel like I'm going, like, I very much so want to be qualified for Nats again. And if that's the case, I should be playing for it as much as I can, but 3 is the max. And most people, I think 3 is going to be the max because in most cases, there are only, there's the 3 weekends. So
Yeah.
outside of a couple of outliers.
I was going to say like other fun stuff to consider here as well is like I prefer draft, and the one weekend that I could even do a draft here if I wanted to is when we'll be in Pittsburgh. So I'm at best looking at like 2 to 3 shots with Classic Constructed. And I'm not against Classic Constructed. I just really enjoy high stakes limited formats, and so
there's a real temptation to fly into Pittsburgh early for the Brawl because there's a booster draft RTN in the Pittsburgh area on the Wednesday before the Brawl. And it's like,
I would legit do that if I didn't just have to like waste a bunch of unexpected vacation days on this shenanigan nonsense.
Yeah, I mean that looks like it's a lot of waste right there.
Yeah.
Next time, don't get your finger stuck in a fucking bowling ball, I guess.
Listen, I'll get my finger stuck where I want to.
Okay, well, we are staying in the same room. Don't say I didn't warn you. And I did warn you. Like, that is clear right now. You have been warned. Wow.
Send your complaints to HR, aka Black Hole Legal,
aka Flesh and Pod Legal, a subsidiary of Black Hole Legal, which is still the trash can next to Jordan Kennedy's desk. That is how. I don't know if
he even has a trash can now. I saw him. He had a picture on Twitter where he was actually wearing a suit. It's like I don't even know him.
Yeah, that always fucks with me. Whenever Jordan is dressed in anything that's not a t-shirt and basketball shorts, I kind of lose my shit a little bit Doesn't make any sense. It's like me not wearing a hat and a hoodie. Like,
Yeah, it looked like Charm3r cosplay because it was like a nice looking tie.
It was. Well, I mean, Jordan's not one to go off the rack. I mean, he is a bespoke man when it comes to things that are worth his time. So if he's going to have a suit, it's going to be a nice one. Like, that's just all there is to it. But he'd prefer to just be repping and one in Adidas the entire time with some basketball shorts and a t-shirt.
Like, I mean, I'm literally in a tank top and basketball shorts right now, so I get it.
No, yeah, I mean, it's. I got home in basically what I'm wearing, so it is what it is. It's pants because I wear pants sometimes, and a t-shirt and a hoodie, whatever. But I really should dress up for this show. We should be more proper. We should be more focused on our attire and image when we record this show, and that way.
Listen, I already am. I showered for this show. Okay,
thank you. But then people can.
The listeners smelling me.
Yes. So then when people are watching the inevitable non-video clip on YouTube because my video corrupts in downloading, they can understand the effort we put into our appearances. That being said, speaking of appearances, found one. We will be at Baltimore this coming weekend, and please do come and say hello. We are, I would call us like 80% approachable. It's about right, about 80.
Sure.
It just kind of depends. Like about 80% of the time, you can just come up, say hi. I'm more than happy to engage in a conversation.
My approachability varies because it depends on who you think I am.
I mean, if they think you're tannin, then your approachability is 0 because it's tannin. But if they think that you're Darick, but they think you're Darick Robertson, they'll want to discuss comic books with you. If they think you're Charm3r, they will not remember that you've done anything other than this podcast. So even though they have probably listened to you or watched you on different casts multiple times, they'll have no recollection of this.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
I'm the Gary Oldman of commentary.
No, you're not. You are absolutely not the Gary Oldman of commentary.
Sure I am.
You're good. You're not fucking Gary Oldman good. Like
how would you know? I might be in things you don't even realize, like Gary Oldman. Come on. I've been in. Listen, you can say whatever you want, but I can say with 100% certainty and authenticity, this is not a bit, not a joke. I think that my commentary is as good as Gary Oldman's performance in Tiptoes, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise. So I deserve the Gary Oldman of commentary based on his performance in
Tiptoes. You deserve the Oscar that was supposed to go to Gary Oldman for performing in Tiptoes.
Thank you.
That is a real movie for anyone that is actually wondering. And if you decide to watch that trailer,
the trailer, if you decide to watch the movie,
there's no way anybody gets through the movie. Absolutely not. But if you do, please let us know if you think that Gary Oldman's performance in Tiptoes is comparable to Darick Oswald's casting ability. And if you think that they are comparable, I will concede the point that Darick Oswald is the Gary Oldman of commentary. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the metric. Like, somebody watch it. Somebody take 90 minutes of your fucking life and devote it to watching this shit fucking movie to just make sure that Charm3r is indeed the Gary Oldman of commentary, because I'm not fucking doing it. Matt DeMarco's probably already done it because Flake has all the fucking free time in the world. He just has to put on headphones so the construction noise doesn't drown out his thought process.
We're so off the rails this week anyway. Let me hit you with something. It's a well-known fact, all right, that my good friend Matt DeMarco, Flake, is a huge fan of
Author of The Stoic?
Yes, author of The Stoic.
Author of The Stoic, okay.
He's a huge fan of Seinfeld. I mean, other comedies as well, right? But just huge fan of
love Seinfeld.
So does my good buddy John Blevins, aka the Blevins, another
the Blevins Blevy.
Legends of Runeterra. I've worked with him, great guy. So I have been sending. I love the meme template from the Kenny Rogers Roasters or whatever with Kramer, where it's always glowing red and what's going on in there, and then it cuts to something ridiculous. So I send to Flake, and again, like I do, because it's like 3 a.m. and I can't sleep. But I send to Flake this meme template that it's in that format, but when it gets to the part where the glowing red is explained, it's got Kramer next to Kurt Russell with the blowtorch, and it says, "Nobody trusts anybody more, Jerry." And then when they cut back to Jerry Seinfeld, it's got the like spider from The Thing with Newman's face on it or whatever. And Flake's like, "Yeah, man, I love that meme template. What's that from?"
Oh no!
And I was like, "You've never seen The Thing? Like any version? There's like been so many versions. It's like the entire basis of Among Us." And he was like, "No, I've never seen it." So I say, okay, fine. Don't judge you. We'll watch it the next time we have an opportunity. We'll do like a movie night or something. But I was just shocked because it's like a cult classic. Like it's
a classic.
Right. Like it's legitimately.
It's John Carpenter.
Right. Like, so knowing that I have this interaction, I take that same meme and I send it to Blevins and I go, "I can't believe Flake hasn't seen this." And he goes, "Hey, that looks funny. What's that from?" And I was like, no, where did I go wrong?
You need to choose your friends better.
Yeah. So then I'm like, now all I'm doing is finding memes based around The Thing and sending them to Flake. I found one that's like King of the Hill, but instead it's Thing of the Hill, and Hank has a blowtorch and Bobby's face is on the thing, and it's just
beautiful.
Yeah. So anyway, you said Flake, and I was like, hey, let me tell you about how Flake has just bamboozled me. I was not prepared for him to say, like, genuinely, what's that from? Like, it just didn't even register that was a possibility. So
we can do a double feature night of The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China.
Well, yeah, if they haven't seen that, then we also need to take care of that.
That's a lot to work on. I would
even be, even though I much prefer the Kurt Russell version, I would even be fine with doing the double header with the remake, because the Mary Elizabeth Winstead one isn't bad. Yeah. It's just I prefer the Kurt Russell one because
the Russell one's
classic. Better. Yeah. But
wow. Okay. Well, movie night with Darick and Logan has been brought to you by The Realm, which is where we'll be a lot of the time during Pro Tour Baltimore. Is probably at the Realm booth. So please stop by the booth. There's going to be, a lot going on. It's the Realm, and Charm3r will be the one with one arm. So pretty easy to know the difference between us. I have two.
Yeah, but when I get there and I make you wear my sling, we're gonna bamboozle people.
I'm gonna fucking love it. And like I said, stop over, say hi if you see us. Who knows? I might have something to give out. I don't know. I know that I think I'm down to like 4 of the original playmats, and that's it. Once they're gone, they're gone. I'm not gonna make any more of those. I got another design that is out there. It's on the Discord. You can go look at it. That'll be in production shortly. Should have a test of it sometime soon. But yeah, so I might have some of these with me to just hand to people or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to bring and what I'm going to do yet. I have not decided jack fuck all. But we will be there. We will be watching it. And it's time for us to make a couple predictions to what we think will happen in the Pro Tour, and also to make sure we ruin at least half of the question that Dagan asked in his listener question. I think the first time he's ever showed up in it. But first question, Darick, is which hero do you think will be the most represented at the Pro Tour?
The most represented, I think, will be Dromai. I know that's an easy answer because it's been that way for the last couple of events, but the reality is that if I had to bet, I would say it's going to be a lot of Dromai and then a lot of Ranger. But I think the problem is that both Azalea and Lexi split that player base because they're both viable. Whereas anybody who would say bring a Prism, they all have to be on Dromai, right? So Dromai is very popular. A lot of people like to play it. It's been the most represented for a reason, and so I expect it to be a lot of Dromai. But either Azalea or Lexi would be my second call. While that's not necessarily who I think is going to win it, that's what I think will be the most populous.
I personally think it could easily be Oldhim. It's the old adage that the only bad matchup that Oldhim has is with itself, and maintaining the focus of playing the deck correctly. That's it. There's no bad matchups for Oldhim. It's, you know, getting outplayed or whatever, or you lose to the small bits of variance that you can lose to here and there. But I think that players will be picking up Oldhim, and I think a lot of teams. So I think that the European players specifically, so like Poland, Spain, the Czech players, the Ukrainian players, they're all absurdly good German players at this game, and they usually bring something that is a little spicy. And I can see them having something that we haven't seen yet, and that doing a lot of the work. But even then, I mean, Oldhim is Oldhim. If your good players can stay locked in, they're going to continue to do the work, and win those matches and get to the end state. And I think that a lot of people will understand that that's true and pick up Oldhim for this event. I don't know that it'll outstrip Dromai. I think that Dromai is probably safe.
So I mean, I would agree with you on all fronts, except for the fact that literally every time that we've been in any format where I have thought to myself, Oldhim is the safest pick or most likely to be the most reasonable pick, it ends up being like the fourth most represented, even in events where like it's half the top 8, right? And then you look at it and you go, well, of course it was Oldhim. But then when you look at the field, you're like, okay, well then why was it the, third or fourth most represented thing? So that's my hesitancy with Oldhim. I don't know if it's that there are, just folks who don't like the play style. I don't know if it's that, again, people don't want to be in the tank, for those kind of marathons all day long. I don't know what it is, but Oldhim, while I think is, again, a very good choice for this meta, I just don't see him being the most represented. So I think people like being proactive. I think that Dromai, you're proactive. The Rangers, you're proactive. And so I just think that those will speak to more people. And then, like I said, because Azalea and Lexi eat into each other, it's harder for them to like take over Dromai as the top spot. But any one of those three I could see doing it. I just don't think there's going to be that. I think Oldhim's going to do very well as far as conversion rate goes. I just don't think it's going to be very heavily represented.
All right, so if that's the case, which hero takes it down?
See, this is where it becomes very difficult because what I want to say is Icelander, as weird as that sounds. But my reason for that is that I'm still convinced that Michael Hamilton's going to bring it. I think if he makes the top 8, he has a very strong chance to win it. If he doesn't make the cut, then my next is I think Oldhim's the next most likely to take it down. Again, very good matchups, lots of strong players on him. So, if Michael Hamilton falters, I could very well, see one of the European people win it on Oldhim. I could see somebody like a Charles Dunn who, is fine. Like he can literally take a nap in the middle of the match and wake up and still pilot that deck. So, Oldhim would be my next choice. And then I want to be very clear about this. I think that if it's not one of the ice heroes, I think Azalea is the most likely to be the next one. But I'm saying this strictly because of Brody. I think Brody's
Sure.
similar thing of Michael Hamilton, right? If Brody makes it to the untimed rounds where he can do his Brody things, he's very dangerous.
The
So
PB pause.
yeah, that's my reasoning on my choices. But it's really hard to bet against, Michael Hamilton in these events when he gets there, and I just don't see him getting off of Icelander prior to this. So I don't know. That's where I'm at.
So I think Lexi wins it. And the reason I think Lexi wins it is I think that of the decks that are out there, I'm taking into account card pool, right? I think that Lexi has the biggest window to innovate in of the decks that are out there right now. And I believe that the teams that are working on this are going to come in with a built-in advantage playing the deck with a little bit of tech that we haven't seen before. And I also feel like there is at least some chance that somebody like a Michael Hamilton, if not Michael Hamilton himself, comes in playing Lexi. And
he's got experience on it.
He does.
The very first time I ever cast Michael Hamilton, I cast him playing Lexi against Michael Fang, actually.
Yep.
So,
like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. And I think that Lexi's dangerous. The deck is good.
Absolutely. And so I think that if it's anybody not Brody, I think that if a Ranger takes it, it is on Lexi. I just think that Brody right now is very, very good on Azalea, has shown, even though he didn't win both of them, he's shown good quality performances twice now. So that's why I was kind of saying, like, all right, well, I'll put my faith in Brody in particular as opposed to whatever. But I do agree that Lexi's, I think, overall card pool is more interesting because you lose the specializations. And don't get me wrong, like, Red in the Ledger is a pretty big deal, but you gain all of the Ice and the Lightning cards.
Right.
So whatever you want to do in terms of, innovation. And then you also, if New Horizon is more your speed, you get to go that route as well. That allows you to do some interesting things with the Codex play, especially in the mirrors, or what I call the pseudo mirror. So the Lexi into Azalea, it becomes that much harder for cards like Codex of Frailty to really put your opponent behind if they have the extra arsenal slot. Like, yeah, you still get the card out of their hand, so it's a little bit harder for them to block, but you also give them a lot of tools to work with on the next turn. So it's an interesting dynamic with Lexi.
Yeah. If you had to, like, pick what you think the hero mix in the top 8 is, what do you think it is?
I actually did this exercise recently, and so when I go back up to what I was, though I do think I'm going to make one change to my initial prediction, because the more time I had to think about it, the more I originally had said I expect the top 8 to be 2 Oldhim, 2 Lexi, 1 Azalea, 1 Icelander, 1 Uzuri, and then I said 1 Briar because I feel like Briar is a bit underrated right now because the deck didn't really lose anything and it's still very capable of high rolling. And so my thought process when I said Briar as the other 8 was literally like, if somebody can just get lucky enough to go X2 on Briar and then have 2 3-0s for their draft, like, that's good enough. But if it's not Briar, then I think that the other spot would be a dash.
So mine was 2 Oldhim. I agree there. 1 Lexi, 1 Azalea. I think that we have a split in Ranger. I think we have a Bravo. I think we have a Dash. I think we have an Icelander. And I think we have a Kano.
Because I really want there to be a Kano because I think that they're very well positioned into the field, and that was my sleeper pick. I just haven't seen, now it's entirely possible that they're just doing all the testing behind closed doors, but I just haven't seen many, like, impressive Kanos in the wild, but that doesn't mean anything, right? So
no, mainly because they don't have to go to these events. They just can sit in the fucking corner at home and just keep goldfishing.
Yeah.
I mean,
so my list, I would totally be fine with also subbing, something in there for a Kano, but I do think that it's probably 2 Oldhim, and then I legitimately think that it's probably 3 Rangers. I just went with a 2-1 split for Lexi and Azalea. What's interesting to me is that neither you nor I picked Dromai to convert.
No.
Nope. It's so funny. Like, she has so many like really good matchups, and then also has some really bad ones, and that's the problem.
Yes, it's very polarizing, and some of the Azuri lists run enough 6s to stay ahead. The Bravos and Oldims, we already know what that looks like. So it's very, like, going into those types of fields, it's very hard for Dromai. And that's really all there is to it. I feel like they are the check right now on your Kanos specifically. But if Kano gets out of draft at a 3-0 and doesn't see a Dromai in day 1, like, they would be...
This might be a bit of a hot take, but depending on the version of Dromai you're playing, I don't even think that Kano is a good matchup for Dromai.
Not if you're on the pure red line, no.
No, if you're on red line, like, okay, cool, you made 3 things, but you still, like, your AB is your whole hand most of the time.
Right.
So
that's not good enough.
Yeah, straight up not having a good time. I don't know. I do not pretend to be the Dromai expert. I usually ask a combination of Noah, Mara, or other folks when I want like real feedback, but I just feel that Kano as a bad matchup in a Dromai thing is very build dependent, and that sometimes gets washed over.
Yeah, I agree.
That's also why I didn't pick Bravo to convert, unfortunately. I think Bravo is very well positioned right now, and I would absolutely not be surprised if there was one in the top 8. I just don't know of many players that are piloting him correctly. If a Bravo did break the top 8, I would expect it to be either a European player or Clark. Just straight up honesty, because I know that they know how to navigate the hero properly. I know that Bravo gets a lot more reps on the other side of the pond.
Sure.
And obviously locally I've played against Clark, does very well, but most of the time what happens is I see people that normally play Oldhim try to pick up Bravo, and then they try to play Bravo like Oldhim, and that's not the way it works. So
no, you're there to disrupt with horrifying attacks, not block every turn. 1 turn off, 1 turn on, 1 turn off, 1 turn on. Just
maybe
clockwork kill them, or sometimes it's 3 turns on.
Yeah, that's usually the way I play.
And that's like, well, they're dead. Well, fuck me. So we're going to talk players for a second. Who makes the top 8? Who do you have making the top
8? This is and I wish I knew for sure like everybody that was attending too, because there are some like sleeper folks that I think could make it too. I think Hamilton still makes the cut for top 8. I would be shocked if he didn't at least make the cut. I think Brody has a very strong chance to make it. He's made a lot of strides. He's been very consistent. And then after that, it starts to get tricky because there are a lot of players that I think are very capable of making it. It's just that it's very hard to be that consistent, right? Like, not shocked, for example, like I would dare say, Pablo is a pretty solid choice, does very well consistently. But, after that, it's like, am I surprised if Charles Dunn makes it? No. Do I think he's a lock to make it? Well, not necessarily either. Would I be surprised if, Dagan makes it? No, I wouldn't. Like he day twos a lot. He just needs to get over the hump, right? So like, am I surprised if he makes it? No, he's definitely that caliber of player. He just hasn't yet, right? Like, to me, Dagan is he's like the Dan Marino, right? Lots of stats and no conversions.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, okay. So right now, before we keep going, over under 6.5 day 1 wins for Dagan White.
Over under 6.5. Do we know how many rounds it is total on day 1?
I believe it's 8. I think it's 3 draft, 5 CC.
Okay.
I can do this in real time.
I thought it was like 3, 3, and 3, but
let me double check.
So here's what I'm going to say. If it's 9 rounds, I give him the over. If it's 8 rounds, I give him the under, because at 8 rounds, I think he goes 6 and 2.
All right, Pro Tour Baltimore. Structure. So it's 4 rounds. It's 7 rounds day 1.
Okay, well,
4 rounds of
definitely
Swiss.
taking the under on 6.5 if it's 7 rounds day 1. He's not going 7-0.
So is this where I need to point out to you that he has never lost a match in day 1 of a Pro Tour Worlds yet?
I still don't think he does it. That's actually why I think that he doesn't do it.
Okay.
I think
so. You're taking the under?
Yeah, I'll take the under. If it's 7 rounds and it's 6.5, I'll take the under, because
5.5.
He'll go. Ooh, I think it's very possible he could go 6 and 1, but then do better than he has in the past on day 2.
Okay.
Because I there's, to me, I think there's like something that gets you in your mindset when you know that you're like on the bubble. Like I think about like Pablo's run, for example, but just in general, like I know that I start to play a hell of a lot tighter, for example, when I know like this is it, as opposed to, oh, I just got to kind of keep going, see where I'm at. So if Dagan goes 6 and 1, as opposed to the 7 and 0, when he goes into the next day, it's him going in with the mindset of I need to win instead of I just need to not lose. And those are two very different things. I think Dagan, who knows he needs to win, is a better Dagan. So I'm going to say 6 and 1, but he'll do better on day 2 than he's ever done in the past. That's my prediction.
I think he'd take that. Like, honestly, like he's probably,
I know he would take it, because I'm saying he would do better than he's ever done, but I just,
he's probably listening to this right now and going, okay, I can do that. So, if like, I get it. And I think kind of finish out your point, because it's kind of hard to pick players. Like I think I agree with you on Michael Hamilton and Brody specifically being easy is the wrong word, but safe top 8 picks at this point. But there's a lot of other people out there. Pablo is definitely one that you would think about. Darick, like he hasn't done a ton recently in events that we know of, but he is still Darick 2 belts.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, did well in Indy.
Yeah, he did. You still have Majin Bay. Is Caleb even playing? Or is Caleb just wanting to go to dinner? Like, who knows? And then you have, I just had people in my head and now they're gone. Like Isaac Crude is still, a person of interest.
Yeah, I mean,
still very good. Honestly, I think that if I were to pick the Lexi that makes day 2, it would probably, or that makes the top 8. If I just had to pick one blindly and it wasn't Michael Hamilton, it would probably be Matt McInnes. I think that he can do it. He just has to keep his head on straight, but when he does, and he doesn't lose himself in, in frustration or whatever, he's a tight and incredibly good player. Yeah, I think that there are definitely some names that can crawl up in there and do some good work. I'm excited. I really am very much so looking forward to this event and how the actual Pro Tour that I'm not fucking participating in or casting shakes out. I think this is gonna be very interesting. There's even like some of the local like Ohio players that are very good. Your Chris Whitingers of the world, like.
Yeah, I was just about to say, part of the reason that I also struggle with like, filling in the top 8 is because I truly believe there will be, but I also root for new names to show up as well, right? Yes, I fully expect some of the names that we know and love to end up making the top 8. We'll see the list and be like, oh yeah, it makes total sense that X, Y, and Z made it. But I love that this game has the ability to, elevate players that are maybe consistently good, but just barely don't make the cut. And then they finally find their groove, whether it's, they found a new hero they connect with, or a new play style because of some new cards came out, whatever, right? And I think that we're going to get that this time. I think that our top 8 will at least have one person that is still a very good player, but just isn't like somebody that would have been on the tip of everybody's tongue, if that makes sense.
No, I totally agree. That makes sense to me completely. We're at the 1 hour mark, so let's move on to some listener questions here. We have some biggins. The first is from Theo Griswold Wizard, our friend. We have a brand new LGS that I am loving to support. Weird phrasing, but sure. What are some of the things that you have seen over the years to be successful with supporting the players, supporting growth, and supporting a fun environment? I really want to see this local store succeed. Darick?
So it's a little bit different now from when I used to like run the gaming parts of the comic and gaming store, back when I was in college. That was many moons ago. But what we used to have the most success with, as far as like getting people into the store and having a good time, was just making sure that we kept trying to do new fun things. So, early in the podcast, we were talking about the really fun, pack war experience.
It's called the Roadie Sack Pack Spectacular.
Yeah,
you have to roll the R's. It's actually it was in the event description. Bronze ticket.
Yeah, anyway. So running fun events, but then you also have to promote them. And I don't just mean and this is why I say it's a different, right? I don't just mean like, oh, you put a post on Facebook and you set it and forget it sort of thing. I mean, like when people come in and say, hey, we're thinking about running this event in 2 weeks. What do you think? Right? Like get people talking about it, get people excited, and then you just do something fun. And as far as like, the growth and support, you just have to also understand where your store is as a community. So if it's a bunch of new players, then you do new player friendly events, whether that's commoner or sealed events or anything where it's not going to require somebody to come in with, a $700 deck, blah, 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 right? Like get people in the door, and you do so by organizing. So if I was going to be doing that today, I would make sure that my local store had something like a Discord or whatever, where you can get people in and run scheduled events. Like Discord has a scheduling feature so that you can ping people, you can have people sign up for when they want. But then again, you can't just rely on like, okay, well, I posted it in the Discord and then I don't know why nobody showed up. Like it's word of mouth. Word of mouth is 100% still in this day and age the best way to get people involved, because it's on a personal level. There's just something that feels better about a personal touch in the invite. If I say to you, hey, Logan, you want to come over and like, we'll hang out and play some Flesh and Blood and we'll barbecue on a Saturday, he'll say yes. If I post on Twitter, hey, I might do a cookout this Saturday if anyone wants to stop by, he'll be like, well, if I get to it, right?
No,
but it's out into the void. Well, you know what I point though, right? It doesn't feel as personal. It's just like out into the void. So when you personally see people coming in and you say, hey, we're having this thing coming up, be really cool if you could make it. And then even if they can't, just say, okay, well, I hope you can make the next one. You don't want to like overly pressure people either, because that'll turn people off, but you do want them to understand that, I see you as a person and I see you as a player and I would like to have fun with you. You're invited to our thing. Like that goes a long way in my experience. So the best way to see support, in my opinion, is to just do that and create that atmosphere.
Yeah, I think that nails a lot of it. So creating community is a lot about making sure that you have two things. One is a community setup. Discord's great for that. Yes, all the features that are there, it allows you to reach out directly to people. It allows you to schedule. It really does do a lot of the things that you just need to do as somebody that wants to run these types of events and help them grow, like just full stop. And when you're talking to people, just like, hey, do you have Discord? We have a server. You might, would you like, you might want to sign up for it. Here's the link, however you need to do it. Just that kind of, again, personal handoff, personal touch. Another thing is, I think that there's a concept that exists in methodologies called being a servant leader. And one, yes, there needs to be leadership at some some level. And the leaders in these communities need to be the person that goes, what can I do for you to make this a better experience? And then listen to their players and make the changes that make sense. Sometimes that requires working with the stores. Sometimes that requires, discussing with the community, is it better if we move this time of this event that is, a weekly event or whatever? Just gather consensus to make it as the best for the most, like just a very utilitarian concept, but you're not there for yourself. When you're that person, you are there for the community. And yes, once you're playing the game, that is a little out the window as far as how you decide to play the game, how you enjoy playing the game. This is all in the community aspect. So you're not expected to just say, oh, I understand that you really wanted to win this one, concede. No, you're not expected to do shit like that. But creating those atmospheres that people want to come back to. And when somebody understands that the person leading this, that leads the charge here, is somebody that wants to create that atmosphere, it really does draw people in. And it makes people want to keep coming back. The other thing that I found that's very important is there has to be somebody that is very comfortable as a liaison between the store and the player. And that can be a store employee. That can be somebody within the community that is a close personal relationship with the stores. Any of those things, but you have to have that liaison. I personally have to, a lot of times, remind the person that does all the ordering for the LGS that I help run events at to order armory kits. They're free. They cost $0. It just requires them to send an email. But if you know anything about game stores, one person is not wearing one fucking hat. They are busy as shit because they have a million things to do. And that email could easily slip their mind. But it takes me 20 seconds to send a message to somebody and say, hey, can you remember to order this month's armory kit for me? Yeah, I'll do it right now. Perfect, thank you. Might have slipped their mind otherwise. But that's a level of comfort I have with being able to just send that message and know I'm not being an asshole, and that's important. In some stores, you have, or some local, you have a person in the store who's already super passionate. We have that at Game Castle and Ankeny with Zach Cash. He is super passionate, and so he just doesn't miss things because, one, he is very good at his job, and two, he has a passion for making these things happen. And so that's when you have a person in the store who is your community leader and doing the servant leader things that need to be done to make everything go. So those are the types of things sort of on a more macro level that you do need. And honestly, those roles can be filled by one person, but it's a lot. So if you do have one person at that LGS that is trying to crank everything out, do anything you can to make their life easier. Because keeping those people from burnout is super important, because they need to keep being there in that supporting role. Otherwise, they're just going to say to hell with it and drop the ball and walk away. I mean, burnout sucks and it is real. And you have to understand that at every point in time, there are human beings behind all of this. So empathy is very important too. Just remember that part of it. And that's what helps it grow. I went long-winded. Sorry.
How dare you?
How fucking dare I? But
that's my job.
Hopefully that's actually true. It is your job. But I hope that helps. Really, I hope that is the type of answer you're looking for, because it's a lot easier, honestly, to talk about these things on a case-by-case basis instead of the macro basis. But if you're looking for the big umbrella things, I think that pretty much covers it, with doing what Darick said, and I then added over the course of like 8 minutes or whatever the fuck long I was talking. Moving on, we also have a question from Dagan White. We already kind of touched on this. He asked, leading up to Baltimore, who/what makes top 8 or wins? I already did that. Also, How do players win games day 2? Asking for a friend. Well, the friend is himself because he has a very hard time with day 2s. Darick, I know you touched on this already, but feel free to flesh this out a bit.
I was gonna say, sorry, my arm's hurting. I'm adjusting real quick. I think that there is really some merit to the idea of just making sure that you still play to win, right? You have to, I think, still be very hungry, but it is also like it's a very fine-edged sword, because the thing about day 2 is that good players make it to day 2, right? Like if you're struggling on day 2, you also have to understand that like that might not just necessarily be a reflection of you, because like it's a bunch of really good people in the field that are left when you get to day 2. It's not like, oh, I lost to somebody I've never met before on a Reinar that was running 5 attacks or whatever, right? Like you're losing to Pablos and Michaels and whatever. So I just feel like, again, especially if you have a very strong record day 1, when you're going into day 2, if your mindset is, I just have to not lose 2 games, then that is not the right mindset, right? If your mindset is, if there's 5 rounds or whatever, and then it needs to be, I need to win 5 rounds, not I need to not lose 2 games or whatever. Because I think that once you concede to yourself that you're just playing to not lose, you start to trust your instincts less. That's why I phrase it like this. I know that I myself fall into this trap specifically, like in my bubble games, where I'm like, man, I just need to not lose this. And then I start second guessing things that I would normally not even like flinch or think about, right? It's just like, this is the way I know that I'm supposed to pilot my deck. But once I get my back against the wall and I'm starting to think about like, I don't want to lose this as opposed to I'm playing to win this, I start doing things that impacts my decision making. So yeah, I mean, that's the best advice that I can give, is to just, stick with your game plan and make sure that you're playing to win. You know how to win. Don't start playing to not lose, play to win. And I know that sounds so stupid, but like it really is such a mindset difference. And it's something that like when I self-reflect, I definitely know that like when I hit my bubble games, I start to get more timid, and I know it's cost me games. So
yeah, I don't have a large modicum of success in Flesh and Blood, honestly. I've top 8'd some pro quests, lost in the finals a couple of times. I've never day 2 to calling yet, but I think I played in 2 or 3. But
I think I'm the best player to play the game that hasn't day 2 to calling.
Yeah, I mean, that's good that you think so high of yourself. But the for when I was playing Magic, which I was much better at, it was always the frame of mind. It was always, okay, what does winning this game look like to me? Not how, again, it's the how not to lose, right? Not get that out of your brain. It's what does winning look like? And if you look at what's in front of you and say, okay, is this compatible with what winning looks like? No, yeet, get the fuck out of here. But it's making sure you stick to that plan of what winning looks like and how to get there. I know I use the example a lot, but Dagon can sit there and build perfect plans. Like that if a person just stuck to the fucking plan and understood their role in the game, they're going to be a super high percentage to win. But we are humans. And sometimes we think that we're smarter than what's in front of us. Natural thing. And so you go off script, you go off the plan, and then you wind up in a place called fucked. And no one wants to be fucked. Well, okay. Well, no one wants to be fucked in the bad way. And so that's what happens. And so you kind of got to stay within yourself and have a plan of what winning looks like, and then go from there. And I think that players like a Dagon White, like anyone else that's in that same echelon, they have that. But they can lose it too at the same time in panic modes or when they're trying not to lose. things like that, and just kind of fall out of plan and out of sync with what winning looks like. And I think that that's the most important part of staying locked in on day twos. That's what I got for you. You're much better than I am. Don't need to listen to me, but I'm much older than you.
One last bit of advice I would give is that you wear the belt all day, day two.
All day. Day 1 and 2. Belt never comes off. You sleep with the belt on. But don't shower with it, though. That would probably be a little awkward. But the belt is important. You got to wear the belt. Moving on, our friend Big Lou asked, following the discussion from last week's show about the availability of Majestics and higher rarities from the early sets, what do you think will be the plan to get more copies in players' hands? The iconic and staple cards for the game are already out of reach for most players, myself included, and I'd hate for this to become a pseudo-reserve list. I respect LSS's decision to keep the collector's market thriving and investment in the game well kept, but without good reprints, I fear it's increasingly constricting to new players. Okay. There's a lot there.
There's a lot there, but the good news is it's a very short answer, in my opinion.
It really is. History packs.
History packs.
It's most of the answer. The pseudo-reserve list for Flesh and Blood will be black border copies of those staples and foils of those staples. That will be your pseudo-reserve list. Reserve list, for those who don't know, that are not from Magic, which is what the reserve list refers to, is there is a list of cards that Wizards of the Coast has promised to never reprint. And that is called the reserve list. Those cards specifically tend to increase in value at higher rates and hold value more than other cards that can be reprinted into literal dust, which is what WotC has really started doing a lot of. But in this case, I know we've addressed this before on the show. I don't know if we have with Darick, but to have a successful card game, you need collectors, hobbyists, and players. You need all three. So, and they mesh, right? I would consider myself a competitive hobbyist. So I have a collection that's quite large, and collectors are investors typically. And I have a large collection, but the large collection is maintained in order for me to keep playing, to do so I can play whatever I want. But then I have my little side pieces that are kind of more the hobbyist vein. My lore book, the copies of Go Bananas, things that, they're just are different and weird. And then like the egregious pieces that I have, because why the fuck wouldn't I? Like cold foil Centauri sabers. Yes, I could have plain ass white bordered Centauri sabers if I wanted to for 50 cents a piece or whatever they are. But instead I have these $200 Centauri sabers. And the reason is because I fucking wanted to. And you need those people that do that. You need those people that create a market. But you're right. You do need to keep accessibility for players, especially in a non-rotating game, high. And that's where History Pack comes in. You can print all your staples in white border over and over and over again, and leave the black border original printings as your more reserve list type of things. That's basically the answer to that. Darick, do you have anything to add?
No, I mean that's basically my answer. There is, I think, potentially friction that we haven't quite hit yet, but could arise when we start talking about things at the Fable level and playability and whatever, which is different. I still don't think that has anything to do with their reprint policy as much as it just is the amount of Fables in the wild versus the amount of people that will potentially want to play with them at some point. But that's a very like small niche thing. But overall, yeah, the answer is, we got our print numbers for unlimited runs and whatever, but that's also like Flesh and Blood 1.0 stuff. We're not going to ever like do the unlimited thing ever again anyway. So now we're just going to have our sets, and then we're going to have history pack stuff. And the history packs are our reprints. And as far as we know, that's just going to keep printing and forever, or if not, then at least they've shown us that they're not afraid to reprint things. So that's what I imagine they will use to address
this is
it.
fun. This is the Min-Max Games cash buy list for Pro Tour Baltimore. Right? This is their hot list. I'm going to read these off to you. And some of these prices, I'm like, oh, fuck me. Okay. Eye of Ophidia. What do you think their buy list price is on Eye of Ophidia?
Cash?
Cash.
$350.
$480.
Holy shit. For like an unlimited one?
Yeah.
Damn, maybe
Heart
maybe
of
I'll
Fiendel.
Hawk mine.
Heart of Fiendel.
450 then?
4.
All right.
Library, Great Library of Solana.
2.
360.
Okay. Wow. They're getting ready for Dusk and Dawn, or Dusk Till Dawn.
Fiendel's Spring Tunic.
Is this like any version? Is this unlimited?
Unlimited Fiendel Spring Tunic.
Unlimited, I'll say 225.
Very close, 230. So
Yeah.
pretty much on there. Crown of Providence.
Rainbow foil crown, I'll say same thing, 225.
200.
Okay.
And my personal favorite in all of this, well, I got 2 of these. Invoke Tomeltai Marvel.
Tomeltai Marvel? I have no idea, but I have one of those, so now I'm intrigued.
What number would you think would be something you would accept?
What I would accept is different because I would be looking to trade it for assassin stuff at this point. But I don't know. Just knowing like what prices were the last time I looked, I would say cash buy of what, 150?
Exactly, nailed it. 150.
Okay.
The Fabled Command and Conquer.
Ooh, 4?
$600.
Wow, that went way up.
Oh yeah. So this speaks to a little bit of what that Lou's getting at here. But the one thing I want to point out is it specifically states that this is all for near mint English black bordered copies, not white bordered.
Right.
So your white bordered tunic, you're not getting 230. Your Euro Fables, nope. Sorry. These are prices that are set for the collector's market. And a Tomeltai is not $150. A Tomeltai is like 10, maybe even less. A Marvel Tomeltai, that's $150.
It's a
Cash in
really
your pocket.
looking marble.
Yeah,
I do have one, and it's like one of my favorites. But
yeah, I have a master set of Uprising.
Yeah, I do not, but I was thinking about parting with my Tomeltai to feed my Assassin Addiction, so I don't know, we'll see.
You do have one of those. But the Addiction and the Tomeltai, I guess you have both. But that's the collector part. That's what they're buying. They're buying the collector part. They're not buying the player part. They're buying the collector part. And so as the game grows, they will continue to print staples in History Pack as whiteboarded staples, making them more accessible for people that just want to play the game. That's my take. And I think that seeing those numbers, which are astronomically high on some of those things, like, fuck, I almost want to get rid of my Eye of Ophidia, and I don't have an extra.
I don't have an extra either.
480 is dumb.
I paid $120 for mine.
I opened it out of a pack.
Of course you did, but...
And I also have a case of Arcane Rising sitting behind me. So
I want to be clear. I didn't get like some cool like Charm3r discount. Like this was literally like legitimately on a Facebook, whatever. Like I paid a guy $120.
That's what they cost. And the fact that like those prices are very actual close to retail prices. Like these are not flips unless I mean, honestly, if you make an instant $50, you just make your instant $50. It's whatever.
Right.
but these are prices that are meant to have these things to hold on to them, not to necessarily flip immediately. And notice that, like in Light and Strike, I didn't mention that one. I believe it is on the list, but like Command and Conquer on the list for just regular Black Border Command and Conquers was $78, which still pretty high, but Command and Conquers are hovering around 100. Okay, fine. You're giving me 75% ish. I'm totally okay with that. Like, that is fine margining. But that's playing the long game. And I think it's actually very good for the health of the game to have companies that are willing and not just willing, are publicly doing that. I think that is actually very good for game longevity. And I do think that LSS understands that History Pack is their method. That's all I got. Would like to thank our patrons. I probably should have that pulled up before I start recording, but I'm never smart enough to do that for whatever fucking reason. I am just a dumb moron, folks.
It's because what happens is before we go live, I join in and I say, "Hey, Logan, how you doing?" And he says, "Oh, I'm doing okay." And I'm like, "Are you ready for the show?" And he's like, "Well, I got to open the thing." And I say, "Stop, I have some tea to spill." And he's like, "Oh, give me the goods." And then we gossip for like half an hour.
We spill the goss.
And then he just forgets. So it's my fault, gang. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's not. That never happened. Well, actually, that's not true. That does happen, but he never tells me not to open it. But I'd like to thank our associate producers, Andy, Kenny, and May. And then also our executive producers on Up, Chris W., Nick D., Josh, Popo Mike, Rich, Ed, Philip, Taylor, and Trevor. If you would like to become a patron of Flesh and Pod, go to patreon.com/Flesh and Pod. There are links in the show notes, which are a thing. And there are a bunch of tiers. I don't fucking know. I don't remember how many I made, but they're there. You can also find us, by us, I mean normally me, on the Twitchers at FleshPod. You can also send us an email at fleshandpod.com. Please remember, if you are listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, to like, subscribe, and give us 5 stars. That is very helpful, apparently. I did notice that we finally got our first thumbs down on our YouTube in the Charm3r history of being on the show. So one of the 200 and however many viewers on YouTube, for some reason, just didn't like what we were saying or whatever.
I'm sure it was probably on the last episode when I was high and I didn't know what was going on. Oh, well.
It was.
I told you, I said that was far and away my worst episode to date. So at least I was self-aware. So you know what? It might have even been me. I didn't go look. Maybe I thumbs down to myself. That sounds like something I would do. Like, fuck that guy.
Yeah, you probably would. But it was actually one of our most viewed episodes too.
Oh God,
didn't even have fucking video. But at any rate, that's fine. But you can also find us on YouTube. And please, if you do end up on our channel, the link is in the show notes, just like everything else. Please go ahead and subscribe. We have embarrassing low subscription counts on YouTube, so please make that different. Darick, where can they find you?
On Twitch and on YouTube, I am Charm3r. Has not been much content lately because, I'm doing the thumbs up thing right here, but it's Charm3r. So just Charm3r. So like twitch.tv/Charm3r. YouTube, same thing. Charm3r is the channel name. On Twitter, that's the social media that I use the most. I'm that Charm3r, but I'm also on pretty much every social media platform you can think of, one way or the other. So those are the easiest ways to find me. And if you're ever unsure, Flesh and Plod. Yeah, Flesh and Plod.
That's going to be our new farming sim show. Will be Flesh and Plod.
We are going to become farming simulator esports pros, but
that's real. Did you know that's real?
Yes. Are you kidding me? I'm an esports caster. Of course I know. I'm trying to get into that business, but Flesh and Pod Discord is what I was going to say. You can ping me in there as well.
Link is in the show notes.
Yeah, I'm available there.
You can also find me in the Flesh and Pod Discord. Again, link is in the show notes. I do have my DMs open to anybody I share a server with. Remember, there is still, when you hear this episode, you will have that day, till the end of that day, the 25th of April, to send me a DM on any platform. It can be an email at fleshandpod@gmail.com. It can be a Discord message. It can be a Twitter DM. If you have my phone number, you can text me to let me know, hey, I'm going to Pittsburgh. I need a speakeasy ticket. That's all you got to tell me. And then your name will go into the drawing. I do have a decent number of entries right now. Hold on, I might just have one. Nope. That's somebody else asked me something else. No big deal. Cool. Somebody asked me about whether or not LSS would get up their ass about art. Okay, cool. No, honestly.
No, but yes.
But probably, well, I mean, maybe. But yes, so just send me that DM however you want to, and I will enter you in for the drawing, and then on our next show, I will announce the winner. I think that's it. I think I've covered everything at this point in time. Darick, I hope that your desuturing goes well.
Yeah.
And
I'm hoping that I'm at least splintless by Baltimore. Like I said, I'm going to bring the sling in case it's bothering me, and probably wear it on the plane so that people will see that and hopefully use it as a visual cue to fuck right off and leave me alone. But
here's another one. First person to find me in Baltimore and say, and only the first person, and say, hey, Logan, drinks are on you, right? I will buy the first round. Done.
All right.
Anything else, Darick?
No, you get the thumbs up. Make sure to put this on the YouTube and on the podcast. This right here, this thumbs up.
Perfect. Are you also gonna
if I can go through pain to stick this thumb up for you all, then you can for free hit that damn button.
You can for free hit that damn button. Thanks everybody for listening. We will see you in Baltimore. Otherwise, we'll be here for you next week. Bye.